Welcome to the Single H Show presents Trans Parenting. And today on Trans Parenting, it's a little bit more of a processing time. There is so much going on. There may still be a Single H show this weekend. We may do a double shot this weekend. But I may also be giving Single H the weekend off. I don't know. So just God bless. You will get this podcast today as I am sending it to you on December the 4th, 2024. And December the 4th, 2024 is going to become a landmark starting date in a journey that we all deal with in the realm of transgender rights, specifically those for our transgender children. Court cases taking place at the Supreme Court of Tennessee about the medication rights for transgender youth. There's just a lot going on with it, but this will become one of those things that will be a landmark. This will set a precedent in many ways. And there's so much about this case that I'm worried about, especially as we are shifting into 2025 with the worries that we all in the LGBTQIA plus community and allyship, transgender friends and family alike, our non-binary friends, we're also worried about how the world is going to look after January the 20th. And within that, there's some landmarks that can be decided that will become reference points. And one of those being this court case in Tennessee. A young person fought for their rights for medication to be on their journey. And that young person's name is being withheld because of their age. They are a minor, and this minor has gone to fight for their rights. Their parents have gone with them to fight for their right to gender identity care aid, gender affirming medical care. And this is a fight that's going to have lasting effects. So those of you that are within different forms of faith communities, many of you know that I am. I'm asking you to pray this week. I want you to pray to the all-affirming God that I believe in. And if you're listening to this podcast, I am pretty sure that you also believe in this all-affirming God that wants all to have the opportunity to grow into the wholeness of their identities. That this ends in such a way that it not become landmark harm, but it becomes a landmark tool that will empower so many others to continue within their journeys. I'm going to add a lot to this podcast this week. At the end of this, I've got different videos that I just want to play for you. One is a response from a gentleman after the November 5th United States elections on the immense harm that individuals have caused in this. A statement on how little that individuals think outside of themselves within this vote. I had, as recently as on the Single H show, have shared with you, this election, this 2024 election came down the difference of a collection of individuals that wanted something for themselves, or a collection of individuals that are willing to look at with compassion and empathy the needs of others. I have also shared in different posts and different conversations that this last election was never more so the difference between people who were voting for someone because of who that they hated, or a person that was being voted for because of the good that they were willing to do for the greater community. We're all dealing with that right now. If you've been following the actions over the last few weeks on the Transcended Media Instagram page, specifically the Instagram page, I decided this year as a part of my Advent journey to not give in. You know, in the past, I used our Transcended Media as a place to voice things, to give people an opportunity to think outside of themselves, posting things in advocacy for our LGBTQIA plus siblings, posting facts for our transgender siblings, for people to at least have something to read and to think about it. And I decided as a part of my Advent journey this year is I'm not going to ignore the comments. I am going to be a voice of advocacy between now and until that we light the light of Christ, so that individuals can't just leave hurt out there without our siblings who are hurting so deeply, to see people advocate for them, to see Transcendent Media advocating for them. But I got to tell you, siblings, it is hard. It is hard. It could become a full-time job. So even in my moments of not giving in, I may still need to pick the fights that I pick, because it really does. It feels like a pretty lonely place. I want to give you all some social media lessons, though, real quick, because one of the things that I've noticed, the posts that I have been in the most rebuttals on over the past few weeks, I have received more listed views than anything that we've ever posted for Transcended Media. The posts, we've got a TikTok thread that's up right now, that's up somewhere close to 6,000 views. An argument that I am held within right now over the rights of transgender individuals to use restrooms and their gender identity on Instagram is up in the thousands of views now. And a lot of that, if you want to spike some algorithms, interact, be in there. The most interaction things get, the more they become visible. So if you're in it, be in it, and be vocal, because at the very least, individuals will see you advocating. But as I started this, it began to feel like a very lonely place. In the history of Transcended Media, and I have been involved in podcasting for the better part of 18 years, all the way back to the original Wrestler of Faith that I did nearly 18 years ago. This time of interaction, I have seen more negative interaction than I ever had. And I don't know it's because of the algorithm spike, because of the amount of conversations that are going on. I am a little bit worried, and I do want to share this with you as our siblings in this life journey. I'm a little bit afraid that the aggressive conservative narrative feels a little bit stronger right now because of winning the election, that now they want to shake the cocks a little bit. So I have never in my life noticed more negative responses to things, especially within the realm of LGBTQIA plus advocacy, than I've noticed recently on social media. So I'm going to try to stick to this. My Advent journey this year is being an ally, being a vocal advocate ally until that we light the Christ candle, and then, of course, far after with our with the Single H show and so many other things that we do in the communities of our worship center and in our home production area. So it's just, I'm tired, gang. And it's time to have the voice of advocacy not back out and not back down. So here we go. I do want to speak with you a little bit more. I want to share with you my level of fear that I'm existing in right now. We've kind of made some statements on social media. The Single H show is going to keep going, but the Single H show that will no longer have our identities a part of it. And the more I think about it, I need to go back and see if I put my name in this one or not so I can change it. There will be no connection to our real identities in it other than our advocacy in our statements. I'm worried for Single H right now. I'm really deeply worried. You know, years ago, Single H started his transitioning journey, and I saw this freedom begin to grow in him because he's starting to see him. We started the testosterone treatments years ago. We started the testosterone treatment so that Single H could begin to see his reflection in the mirror. And there's been so much freedom that's come to my son because of gender affirming care. He's not hurt. He's not suffering. The treatments that he takes are reversible. And there is just, man, I'm just tired of the false narrative that's going out. It's ruining things for individuals that really need it. One of the things that I have been in the most fights about lately is transgender care is mutilation. I saw that on a sign. I've talked about it on this podcast. I just want to hold out in very, very few and rare places is surgical transitioning done to minors. Very, very few places. So when you hold this narrative that this is the norm, it's not the norm, and it begins to hinder individuals from being able to get the care that they need because they are hearing the lie. I've been stuck in conversations, and I have found myself in a place of most corrective advocacy, most corrective advocacy over the last couple of days and issues of the bathroom debate. And I'll share with you, I'm going to say it. Yes, I'm sure that there has been someone that has claimed to be a transgender person that has caused harm to someone else in a bathroom. Okay? I'm not going to be naive and tell you that there hasn't. But I am going to state some facts for you. I am going to state facts that the reality of it all is that the most harm that has happened within instances of people trying to go into identity-connected restrooms, that harm has been done towards transgender individuals. That more of the harm is caused towards transgendered individuals. That's a fact. The absolute fact. One of the things that I was challenged to do, and one of my things is to debate this: why should women and little girls go in the bathroom and when they and to fear harm? And I wrote back to them and I said I can't answer this because I can't change how women and little girls feel, but I can share with you that there's no direct connection to areas that have restroom usage for people that go to restrooms by their gender identity compared to people that can go to restrooms based on their biological identity, there's no spike in violence or harm towards women or little girls. The spike happens to the transgender community in those areas. So it is this long debate of people using fear narrative. What about the children? What about the women? Well, I want to propose to you on this podcast, what about the women and what about the little girls? Here's what will happen if we impose nationwide biological identity for restrooms. God bless, there will be a biological woman harassed to prove her gender before going into a restroom. That will happen. How do you enforce this rule? How do you enforce the biological narrative without having inspections? There will be more forms of harassment that take place to biological women, biological little girls, because of people challenging them and them having to reveal their biological identity. So this is opening a door to a new place for that. I also want to talk about something that I've noticed in this debate, and I've talked about it on the Single H show in the perspective that this is actually a war on femininity, but I want to talk about truly, I want to use a narrative that's been used against transgender men, against cisgender men that make the argument. Here's the argument I get. Why should women go into bathrooms and so that men can stalk them? First, there is a narrative that's presented in that, and it's loud if you listen to it, is that men want to see women naked. And men will sneak into bathrooms to see women naked. That exists within the cis narrative, and that's not true. That's not true in this case, with people that are truly transgender just want to pee. But I realized something else when I thought about this statement. When this statement came into my mind, that you are really limiting the male species to people that want to see women nude. Okay, then I realized every time that I hear the bathroom debate, there is never a debate back. There's never included in the debate about women that want to be in male restrooms. There's never a part of this debate the FTM journey of transgender siblings that go into the bathrooms to pee. So, as I'm starting to process this narrative, it's this narrative of, one, men don't care if women go into men's restrooms, and two, the cisgender narrative continues to push that the male narrative is this sex-driven individual that wants to see women naked. It exists on both sides of this argument, especially when that there's never the fight about, well, we need to keep women out of men's bathrooms. You never hear that fight. It's because if you paste the gender narrative together, men want to be in restrooms with women. That's a part of the cis argument of these evil, vile people that want to go into the bathroom. And oh, by the way, I'm never going to complain if a woman wants to come into the male bathroom, because I don't care. Bring them in. I know that I'm sounding snarky and sarcastic about this, but there's a reality in the sarcasm. There is a narrative that exists that men need to learn to respect other people. And it exists within the cis narrative of that is shared, that men are creepy, weird people that just want to go in the bathrooms and have an excuse to stalk women. No, transgender women want to pee. But then it becomes really louder by what you don't hear. It really does become a lot louder by what you don't hear. You don't hear men complaining about FTM transgender using men's bathrooms. So it's just this influx of frustration that exists within it all. And I have just been really just exhausted by it. I have just been really exhausted by it. So if you have a transgender friend and you're a cis narrative that lives within their gender identity, I want to ask you a favor. Please volunteer to be their bathroom buddy, because that is becoming important. We've got this narrative that, one, no matter how much it's pushed aside and no matter how much it's ignored, it is the transgender community that experiences the most violent harm in this situation. So they need you to go in there with them to protect them. And then also, just for them to know that someone actually supports them and understands what it's actually all about. Thank you for letting me vent for a few moments. That was transparenting for this week. Thank you for letting me vent. I am one of the good brothers. God bless. Thank you.